welcome back.
Thanks for having us.
Nice to be here.
It's good to be with you guys again. Bad Blood, I wasn't on 5 Live at the time. It was Radio 1, so I didn't get this chance. But now we're 2 albums deep on 5 Live. 3 albums deep in your career.
Yeah, mad, right?
I want to know about the decision to take your hair off.
Okay.
That's a strong decision.
It was, yeah. I think it was kind of liberating. I guess it was one of those things where, when before the band, I had this big haircut, and I guess it was my sort of life idol is David Lynch, so it was a kind of a nod to him. And then I guess as as music and being in a band takes over your life, and suddenly people, you're having to do photo shoots and all this kind of stuff, it just became a thing, which was very nice to just chop away and not have to think about it again. And it's sort of new album, much less maintenance.
Dan's grooming regime isn't quite what it was before.
Well, I don't know. I'd beg to differ because with a skinhead, you notice when it gets a bit long. But before it was such a mess, you didn't know if it was getting really long.
Yeah, no.
So they're going to be a tour barber to give you a fresh fade.
You know what?
Every time.
It's so telling when we do something important. I have a nice haircut when we're just on tour. I'm over the sink with my like.
Oh,
boots.
dude, are you DIY?
Yeah.
He's gone on stage with like patches, like just untouched patches.
We went to Belgium to do a load of radio promo, and some of our fans were taking screen grabs from this acoustic session with just like massive tufts that I just missed on the side of my head. And that's the danger of doing it yourself. But
I love the idea of you doing it and not looking, just going right. Done.
That's pretty much how that's
while scrolling.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, how many likes did that get? Wow, amazing! While doing your hair, there's a lesson in that though, Dan, isn't there?
There is a lesson. That's why people get paid to cut hair.
But also, I guess, is it a sign of confidence in that you get to a stage where you don't care?
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, with us, we've always sort of just thought about. I was about to say something really cheesy, but we've always just kind of thought more about the music that we make and trying to create interesting things and interesting videos and interesting campaigns and interesting albums and visuals. And I guess it's never really been about us and about what we look like and about us as personalities or people. So, yeah.
But the more famous you become, the more other people obsess about that. And then how do you deflect away from that kind of intrusion, you may think of it as?
Yeah.
Or just part of the game?
I guess there was definitely for some reason like a strong association with Dan's hair for some reason, but people do have that, and so which is the perfect time to go. It's just some hair. It's nothing to do with the music or or the videos or the directors we work with to do the videos or the visuals or anything. It's just my hair that I have.
Which is brilliant when a presenter then starts the first question opening with, "What happened to your hair, dude?"
Yeah. I mean, it's a fair question. It's I've lost like half of my body height, so I'm down here staring up at you guys.
Listening to Doom Days and various tracks, it made me think of trying to find things to cling on to, trying to find places of comfort in the midst of this.
In the midst of chaos, yeah.
And that seemed to keep coming through in a number of tracks in the lyrics.
Yeah, I think we set out to make an album in reaction to our last one, which was kind of like fraught with the turmoil of the times. We set out to make a record purely about escapism, and it was like if that album was the red pill in the Matrix and choosing to sort of confront reality, this one was the blue pill in choosing naivety, choosing ignorance for a night. And we set out to make this sort of escapist rave record, but it was kind of hollow, just ignoring everything. So reality seeps in. We ended up making this concept album about a night out and all the different points. We wanted to base it in reality, so it's kind of quite an intimate record. But it being so sort of real and relatable allows us to sort of nod towards some of the bigger things that are happening in the world and in society and in our lives. And I guess it is about how confusing these times are and how divided everybody is, and it's about seeking solace in people, like be they existing friends, existing family, like loved ones, or new people. And I think that's something that the nighttime, the sort of scene of a night out is this it's the world flipped on its head. It's this odd space where people are kind of saying and doing things they may or may not say in the daytime, and reaching out for contact in loads of different ways. And I think in a world where we're all perpetually, glued to our phones and both sort of connected but also incredibly isolated at the same time, it's about, the positivity of being in a room with people, being in a conversation in real life and engaging and human contact in whatever form.
Yeah, just the purity of human interaction.
Yeah.
Actually, do you feel yourselves that you become more distanced from that because the bigger you grow, the tinier it becomes in some ways? There's such a tighter circle around you, but also the distance between you and your fans. I know your tour is going to be much more intimate.
Yeah.
Is that a reaction to kind of looking out over thousands of people in arenas and thinking?
I guess we feel, we've always just wanted to mix it up as much as possible, and we've done arena tours. We've chosen to do a tour with an orchestra and a gospel choir. We did that last year where we just flipped all our songs on their heads, and with this album, it's about being in a room with people. Like it's about escapism. So we wanted to do like a very, very intimate club tour basically this year to celebrate the album, where we're going to towns all over the UK that people don't usually visit. Bands of our size don't usually head to those towns, and we want to be get sweaty in a room with people and jump around and put on a show that feels a bit different. So it's
definitely something we miss, because as you say, sort of when you get to play the bigger and bigger venues, sort of like a crowd of 200 people or even 1,000 people, when you get beyond that, it just becomes a bit of a mess. Just a kind of sea of people that you can't really comprehend. Is that 8,000? Is it 50? Because it's just a mess of people.
Which is a very champagne problem to have.
Yeah, no, totally. But
but it's just they're
as
just
it goes to the smaller
things.
ones, the more intimate kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I guess with everything we do,
and
we just
Llandudno.
Llandudno.
Love that.
Yeah, excited to visit there for the first time. But we've always tried to mix it up. We make albums, we make mixtapes, we've done collaborations with other people. I think it's sort of in our nature as a band to want to do and try lots of different things, and we've never done a tour like this, so it should be fun. I hope it might be awful and then we'll regret it, but I'm gonna stay positive and say that it'll be fun.
Of course it's going to be fun. Of course it is. In the midst of it, how do you stop yourself through the songwriting process of being kind of dragged too far into the darkness? Because there's a really fascinating balance that you find lyrically on this album between the link between the micro and the macro, how personal, intimate experiences can be projected into big issues that we feel.
Yeah, I'm glad you think that. I think it was just when we started making the album, it just became obvious that to talk about if we wanted to hold a mirror up to society a little bit, which I think a lot of interesting music and art kind of tries to do. And if we wanted to do that, who are we to make any comments other than just what we think, And a way to engage with those things would be to sort of throw it back on ourselves and our personal experience. If you're wanting to write about a breakup, how can you not comment on this other massive international breakup that's happening at the same time? And it's not that much of a stretch to kind of put that out there. And people can kind of bring to it what they want.
But it is a stretch in the sense that you need to make sure you get it right.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And that's the difficult bit, right?
Yeah.
So it's because these things can be done so clumsily. You've heard it before, I'm sure, in lyrics from other bands or other people, which we won't name, where you might go, that might kind of makes it's a bit jarring. Whereas the fluidity of how you do it is good.
Well, thanks.
Well,
we tried. We tried. But I think it's.
You say proud Remainers as well. I mean, that's interesting. I mean, before you put something like that out there, I mean, that is nailing your colours very strongly to the mast.
Yeah, but I guess that's with the idea of having this night out, this concept. It allows us to also be those people that just don't want to leave a party.
Yeah, right.
And I guess in that sense, okay. The idea with the record of all those conversations is we want to be honest about what we think, but everything has to exist on a few levels. And so we kind of see the album, it's the story of one person's night, it's the story of a sort of a generation's night and issues and anxieties, and it's also speaking to much bigger, broader topics that obviously we have opinions on, but we're not we wanted it to sort of be seeded. But yeah, but it's interesting, you know, in America or in other countries, how will they take that line to be? You know,
Yeah, of course.
So
It wouldn't make any.
exactly,
it won't have the
exactly.
same, yeah.
So but yeah, it was a lot of fun to write. Particularly that song. You know, we wanted to. It was the last one we wrote for the album, the song Doom Days, and it was. I sort of felt like if we were going to do this album about escapism, we should sort of justify what we're escaping, and then went down the rabbit hole of chatting about all the different kind of modern anxieties that people might want to, you know, park for the night. And obviously there are loads, and we got sucked into it and initially wrote 30 verses for a song that has space for 8, and then wrote another 30, and then we just had this rolling list of stuff. And cutting it back was quite interesting. It was kind of a different way of writing, having all this information, all these things we wanted to say, and being quite selective in pulling them back. But we're super proud of the song, and it's also just been really fun to have, I guess, because we made it so recently, being able to make something that felt very current, speaks to these exact times right now, and then be able to put it out straight away. Yeah, it was
2 minutes
satisfying.
21 seconds long. As well.
It says a lot. It says there's a lot packed in there.
There is a lot packed in there.
Yeah.
For each of you, if you were to try and diagnose in the other an undiagnosed character trait that you see in them that perhaps they don't see in themselves, what would that be?
Good question.
I don't know. I guess undiagnosed, like medically, or like
No, it doesn't have to be that deep. You could just go and go, you know what, there's something about Dad that I know he is, that perhaps he won't admit that he is.
I don't know. I think one of the reasons that we are still able to be friends and be in the same room together, and like
A lot of the time.
and continue to
A lot of the time.
and continue to travel together, I guess, is because we kind of call each other out on things, kind of as they happen.
It's
How
important to do
brutally
that.
honest do you have to be in the situation that you're in? And not cruelly honest, but like, I need to tell you how I'm feeling right now about you and
think
what you've
it's-
just done.
It's less. It's less kind of. It's less
That
heartfelt.
sounded
than,
like therapy.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
It's less therapy. I think, you know, there's still that weird thing, you know, where I guess we kind of do it slightly in jest, but also like, oh, Dan's late again, is he? Oh, 100% of the time. But that, like,
Not that he's annoyed about it every time or anything.
because I'm always on time. If I'm late really bad. But it'll happen once in like a blue moon.
Like the time he overslept
Yeah, but do
and
you
they
s-
had to break the door down of the hotel room.
Oh,
yeah, that door had it coming though.
whoa, that late.
But that's how I do late. I'll do it once in like.
He does
like
it in
a
style.
year.
I do it
But
in a very annoying, bitty little 5-minute-y kind of way.
Yeah.
My mate once said to me that on his tombstone it will have, I would have lived a lot longer if I hadn't spent most of my life waiting for Nihal.
Oh, a fellow late person.
Dude,
Hello.
like, it's, time is an artificial concept
It
imposed
is,
upon
yeah.
us
And it's,
by others.
Yeah.
and
You
it-
don't
and
agree?
it-
I don't know.
Are you one of those guys which sees lateness as rudeness?
Yes.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that must make for an interesting
Oh yeah, no,
dynamic.
it does. It's nice to start every morning on with that tone.
Passive aggressive about it.
No, I'm pretty open and honest.
Oh,
Which is fair
yeah.
enough. Because I also like I'm never one to. Like, I've got a lot going on, but I'm never one to sort of be like, oh, it's fine. It's always annoying, and I can appreciate that. But that's somehow still doesn't stop me. It's every time I'm like, I've got this. It's 5 minutes to go, and then that 5 minutes just seems to shrink into a millisecond, and then I'm late.
But you have an issue. I feel like, because I read an interview with your MD Ted, who was just saying how you have to fill up space. Like you have to constantly be doing something.
Yeah. Well, I don't have to. I think I just enjoy it.
You just want to, yeah.
Yeah,
of course,
yeah. I mean, I love being in this band, and we've chosen to when we release music to build a whole campaign around it, make loads of videos, and try and create a world around it. With this thing called the Doomday Society, which is we want to create a space online for people to talk about interesting stuff in like a positive way, almost as an antidote to the dark corners of the internet. We're doing an experiential, immersive theatre piece to launch our album next week, where people will come in put on a pair of headphones and there's 3 different narratives that run parallel through the night, and they can choose, you know, which character to follow on the headphones, and you know, then we're going to play the album in full. You know, there's all these different things that we do.
It's like Black Mirror.
Yeah, but you know, we feel like if we're lucky enough to be in a position where we can release albums and make videos and come up with these concepts, that we should take them to, you know, their furthest extreme. And you know, with our live shows, we put quite a lot of work into the production. It's like, it's a lot of stuff, and we're involved in all the nuts and bolts of it, and feel so lucky to be in that. And part of that is just spinning a lot of plates. You know, I also work for a record label, where we, you know, help develop sort of small artists.
Recording studio.
Yeah, we have our studio, but it's, you know, it's a lot of stuff. But it's amazing, like, who, you know, not many people get to do this, you know, for a living and with their lives, and you know, obviously there's touring and all these different things. But like, it's you know, it's interesting that Ted called me out on it as someone who's not hardly work shy himself.
Dude, that guy never stops. Like, right, he never stops. Yeah, you're MD.
Yeah. But yeah, it's nice, you know, it's nice to be supported by them in all these pursuits, and you know, be able to try and, in a world where people care less and less about albums, to be able to put out a record that has a kind of thread to it, and you know, on one level hopefully is just filled with great songs, but also things that have depth and say something, and you know, be able to build a world around it that supports it. We feel very lucky.
How comfortable are you guys with being with yourselves and doing nothing? Because it is important for your songwriting process, your creative process, to have space from it all, isn't it?
I think, I mean, like, you know, what Ted says and what I just implied would suggest that we don't. But you know, we've always been very, like, when we're on, and then we know the importance of time off. Like, it's, you know, we just had this weekend off, and it's probably our last weekend until the end of the summer.
Yeah.
But it was,
End
you know,
of the year.
it was so important just to, like, to see everybody catch up, like, switch off, do nothing. Like, you know, we're all obsessed with films, and like, you know, if it's reading a book, if it's going traveling, you know, we took some time at the end of last year, and Kyle and his mates went to Yosemite and traveled around California. Me and some of my mates went and backpacked around India for a couple of weeks. Like, you know, these things are important. You know, I ran the London Marathon earlier this year, and having something that was just way outside of the music world to focus on and enjoy was amazing. You know, it's I think it's about balance, isn't it? And yeah, it's so important to switch off.
Carl, how was Yosemite?
Yeah, I think it's my favourite place I've been to so far.
Why did you choose there?
So we went out for a festival called Desert Days, and then we kind of went through LA and stayed there for a bit with some friends, and then yeah, it was Yosemite, then Big Sur, and that whole thing. I love being outdoors and stuff, and just kind of seeing something on that scale. And I guess, you know, because we travel around all the time, and it's in cities and venues, and it's you know, it's
arrivals, hotels, sound check, departures,
and everything that you know, that it's involved in a city. And it was, let's do something the complete opposite. Like, let's go to a huge forest with waterfalls and lakes, and also
as Londoners who've always lived in London as well, and in a city, whatever city you live in, like, getting to be somewhere like that like you said, it couldn't be further from what our, like, reality is. And it's so humbling, isn't it? It's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's funny, like, I think since you went, and I'd been a couple of years ago, those 2 films about climbing came out. What were they called?
Free Solo
and The Dawn Wall, which are both these stories of these, you know, these complete fanatic, obsessive climbers who've dedicated their lives to getting up this one rock face. But it shows off Yosemite in such an amazing way, and it made me want to go back so much.
And India for you, Dan?
Was, you know, somewhere that I've always wanted to visit. I guess it's easy to always feel like there's never enough time. You know, I always felt like such a huge place.
Yes.
I wanted to dedicate a chunk of my life to it, but then I had friends that were going off again travelling, and I thought, like, if I don't make time to go, even if it's 2 weeks, you know, it's worth it. So I just, you know, me and a few friends went to Mumbai, and then travelled north on a train, and went to a few different cities, and just tried to see as much and take in as much as possible. You know, I think it's just important, obviously, to go and see the world and check out other cultures. And
how were you with the street food?
Loved it.
Didn't
I didn't get sick.
Because ironically you've been on tour with Lewis Capaldi and that all happened.
I know.
So you can go around Europe. That's fine.
I had a really
terrible. Then you go to India and it's fine.
There was a real classy moment where we were on this overnight train and there was no food on the train. We were on it for about maybe 20 hours or something.
Wow.
And the only thing we had was, as we were running to the station, we picked up a load of like fruit and veg off basically a market store which was just on the road. So we were like, well, we want to eat it, but the only thing we had to wash it with was hand sanitizer. So there was a particularly interesting moment of me like hand sanitizing a cucumber.
Very sexual.
Before eating it, and I was
that's an Instagram story no one wants to see, isn't it?
Yeah, no phones in India, no phones. We didn't use our phones. But yeah, no, it was
the world's worst fruit marinade.
Oh mate, it was. Yeah, I was like, what is this? I don't know, but
It worked though.
Needs must.
You're safe.
Yeah.
you
And yeah, I some of my friends were slightly less fortunate on that front in terms of their stomachs. But yeah, no, it's I don't know. That was.
Do you feel recharged after you do things? You feel fully recharged? Did you need to feel fully recharged? Is that why you went?
I think, well, so I guess, because obviously when I was in Yosemite, we were like doing like 10-mile hikes and stuff and all this kind of thing. But like mentally recharged, having to like sort of been allowed to break off and not focus on stuff and I think the whole thing we were talking about earlier about like sort of being attached to your phone. I feel less guilty because the entire world is there. Basically, you're expected to be at the end of a phone all the time because people are. So even if you wanted to put your phone down on a work day, all it means is that you're less contactable, you're less accessible, and so.
And the world doesn't end if you're not.
The world
there.
doesn't end exactly.
Yeah.
It
feels like
things
it
are
might,
still happening.
but it's important.
It's nice to make that active. Like I'm on holiday, so people know that I'm not contactable, sort of. And yeah, it's definitely good for the mind, for the brain.
Also, I think often in our little world when we're touring and we're talking about the albums and we're creating music all the time and all this kind of stuff, it's very tempting to get completely sucked into it, and it's just so important to have perspective. Obviously, going away, having a weekend off, just going and like hanging out with my nephews, or like seeing all our friends at home. None of them work in music, and no one's in the entertainment industry. So for us, we I think it's
kind
been.
Of uncle is Uncle Dan then?
Incredibly attentive. I'm completely obsessed with them. Yeah,
That's
because
are they old enough to get?
No, not at all.
Lot?
No, not at all.
Right.
They're still little, but
right.
It must be weird for them. They're kind of old enough maybe to start realizing in that they've come and stood side of the stage at festivals, and I guess it's sort of normal.
That's their normal, right?
Yeah, no, I know. They must just think it's very.
They're 20.
He's very patronising about it, isn't he?
Do you understand what's going on here? Well, I guess when they were born, I obviously you love them so much when you have nieces or nephews, and I was just like, they need to know me, they need to know who I am. I don't care if we're away all the time. I'm gonna be like there all the time. I'm gonna be a part of their life, and it's one of the most amazing, rewarding threads of my life having them around. So I'm, as you can tell, completely obsessed.
Yeah.
But still with that kind of arm's length
you can give
child,
them
because
back,
the uncle that that's just like, well, like he's
the fun uncle.
Yeah, exactly.
Gets them all hyped up and leaves, right? And then leaves everyone else to deal with the fallout of that. It'll be 10 years, won't it, next year?
Yes, so I think 10 years from when we first started met each other and started rehearsing and stuff. So yeah, it's 6 years. It's 6 years since we released our first album, but yeah.
But a decade
crazy
to be in this game is. I did an interview recently with Dave and Ed Sheeran, and Ed said that before he got into this game, he would have thought 5 years is a long time. Like that's when you can prove you. But now he thinks that actually to get to 10 years is the real milestone of success in this industry, because it moves now so
fast,
quickly, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's what's been really interesting, I guess, with us, is we've always just done our own thing. We've always written and produced our own music, and for our first album it was this big thing, and then we've just carried on doing what we do and try to be creative and interesting. And then recently we've done a couple of collaborations, and they've seemed to have resonated kind of all over the world, and it's interesting to see what takes to have a big international hit, and you know, and what that looks like and what it means. And I guess from our perspective, we're like 3 albums in, sitting back trying to make this weird concept album whilst watching this song that we wrote in an afternoon, like just, you know, with a man with a giant bucket on his head, just like flying all over the world. It's very surreal, but we feel super lucky to still to hear chatting to you, to be, you know, about to release this new album that we really love, and we're definitely not overlooking how fortunate we are.
It's lovely to speak to you guys again.
Thank you for having us.
It's
Thank
so
you.
lovely to have you again, and I hope success brings punctuality with it.
Me too.